art, comedy, pop culture, and much more. You're listening to ACPN.
Hello, young Swimcast citizens. Space Ghost here, a.k.a. George Lowe, inviting you in for all of the creamy, enjoyable listening goodness. Let's ladle some up right now, shall we?
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Johnny J, Swimcast episode 183. Adult Swim Central. It's back, baby! We're back with all the fandom, info, news, plus, and of course, the Swimcast. On that note, I just wrapped up an interview with the creators of Teenage Euthanasia, Alyson Levy and Alissa Nutting. Season 2 is out this coming July 26th at midnight with some awesome episodes. And I chat with the ladies about some topics that are very important, like beetles, magic, and of course, Florida. You could visit us on the worldwide interwebs at adultswimcentral.com, the official home of the Swimcast, and more. You can also check us out on all our cool social nets, and of course, acpnet.net, the art, comedy, pop culture network, which houses Adult Swim Central podcast, Twitch, and more. So without further ado, here we go. Enjoy. Let's get right into it. The first question we have, it's a burning question that I have. As far as the show goes, where does the show take place? It seems fairly accurate to, minus the technology, of course, to things that are going on in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, there are just, the portions of Florida where I come from, you're just a little bit set off, like it's sort of like time travel, like your technology is like 3 decades old, but you do have like some new technology, but it's only sort of like the superficial, sort of like capitalist stuff that doesn't make your life any better. It's just trying to like sell you socks, or whatever, like that's kind of like what, or like the vending machine, will be really futuristic, but, like you cannot see a dentist. Like that's where I'm from. And so that's kind of the, where the setting, it's sort of a parallel universe near future Florida.
Yeah, I'd say it's like 10 to 15 years. We don't want to specifically nail ourselves in there, but it's somewhere, 10 to 15 years from now, whenever now is.
Gotcha, because it seems like there's a lot of, I don't want to say topical stuff going on in a lot of episodes. I'm not from Florida, but I have in-laws down there. So we're well versed.
Well, some stuff is weird, like during the very early, like 2017, way before the pandemic, we had a whole thing with the teachers being holograms, and it was more just like no one gave a shit about public school, and so they would like beam in these like people that, we do explain it actually this season because we thought it was kind of interesting to explain, but then then there's the pandemic, and everyone, all the teachers are on screens anyway, like, so something like that, which seemed extremely futuristic when we thought of it, in like it was in the first season, but then it became reality. So it's really kind of confusing, and we've stopped
kind of a mishmash.
It takes kind of animation, can take so long. Like, we've been working on this season for 18 months that, sometimes like we're outpaced by the dystopia of reality. Things that we thought might appear to be, dystopian elements may look utopian compared to what's actually happening. So it is kind of interesting.
Especially what the government down there has been doing in the last few months recently. I mean, there was something that I was watching it and I'm like, what, that, government should not be doing that to certain body parts.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And the whole fourth wall break.
Yeah, yeah.
For us as well as a show, Alyssa's from Florida. Florida is a big part of all the creative projects she's been, done, and it's very confusing, but like the Florida our show takes place in, is it just, as she's saying, like an alternate universe that we can't confront that on our show, that that's more than we could possibly take on. Yeah,
it's just fictional, and whatever happens, that happens to coincide.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Next question that isn't so steeped in reality. We were trying to figure out, did the magic that brought Trophy back to life, does that control the beetles, or do the beetles control the magic? It seems like a bit of both.
Here's a theory. I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm saying here's a theory. If you got reanimated and you were a corpse, and your vagina just happened to be full of bugs because you were a corpse, maybe that reanimation magic would be distributed to all of the beetles inside your vagina as well.
I mean, I personally, I have no experience with that. I know people with that might have a couple of people.
Another one of the Florida urban legends that's where the whole beetles come from, is like, Alyssa, you tell your, yeah.
Yeah, no, just growing up, like in middle school in Florida, at every girl slumber party, invariably at one point in the night, someone would tell the urban legend of like the cockroach that went in someone's vagina. Like, you've never met, anyone that actually happened to. You just you hear about this story constantly. And as girls who then, at that point, were in this abstinence, only education, and, we're terrified of both cockroaches and vaginas. You can imagine how horrifying it all was.
So that's how we ended up with that little bit of lore here. And I think it just seems that it's a what is it? It's a copacetic or whatever between Trophy and the beetles. They need
very
each other.
Symbiotic. Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking. It's a symbiotic relationship between them, and Trophy starts to fall apart if she doesn't have them.
Gotcha. Speaking of Trophy, this was one of Trisha's questions. Do either of you have a mother figure like her?
I mean, not exactly. My mother is very, very beautiful and very, very vain. Sorry, Mom. But she, so I think that was, in there a little tiny bit, but I think Alyssa and I are both actual mothers of daughters. And I think it's been fun for us to just imagine the most selfish mother who makes just the worst choices and is so awful to her daughter. It helped excises some, some thoughts maybe. I don't know. But no. I don't think.
Yeah, my in emotional distance only, but mine is very very Catholic and could not be further from the Trophy model.
Gotcha. In the episodes now, we've noticed the relationships evolving between Annie and Trophy, and also in contrast to that, Baba and Pete kind of have a relationship that they're kind of pulling away, and Annie and Trophy getting back together. Are we going to see more of the relationships evolve?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it continues to, I think we think of it as there's Annie, Trophy, but then there's Annie, Baba. And then there's this season, we played around with a little bit Trophy and Pete, which is a fun, their sort of sibling thing as well. But yeah, I think we continue to try to sort of change up. I mean, it's an animated show, so they only go so far because it all kind of, resets again. But I think Annie this season does have more wins, and I think she takes a little more, she's a little more resilient, I'd say.
Very cool. Thank you both for chatting with me. And watch the show.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking over here. So watch the show.
Yeah, and give your co-host our best. I hope that she's okay.
Yeah, she's fine. Her cat's a little bit down in the weather.
Send her our love.
I think she would love if I asked this question. What's your favorite type of cat?
Oh, I really like the oh yes. Do you have one?
Oh, those really fuzzy cats.
Oh, I love those. I like the Sphinx ones that have the pot bellies and kind of sit up, so they look like sort of like old men when they're like sitting back and their stomach is protruding.
That's awesome. Alyson, Alissa, thanks so much. Next Wednesday, midnight, be there. Season 2.
Thank you.
This has been an Adult Swim Central production.